guys, it is Black Friday at night. Got home from work, in the process of uploading the last video, and we're going to be working on my big work light just failed, so I'm using a spotlight. But we're working on decorating the two windows over here and this window, which I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be doing. Tricky thing is how we're going to fasten any lights on this window. Everything is very smooth here. We get some hurricane shutter brackets, which I'll probably just go around and decorate in the outside of these. So let's see what lights we got and which lights we're going to put on. Well, I must say it is nothing fancy. Just a strand of red and a strand of green wrapped around the outside, and just use the hurricane shutters to attach. I might get some garland to make it look a little bit better than this. And as you can probably see, there's more lights at the bottom than there are at the top. Just I used the extra and wrapped it around the bottom piece of metal that holds the hurricane shutters up. Almost. All right, we're taking a quick break. There's only one more channel that I need to decorate for. Everything else is going to be static, but I'm going to do the static stuff after I get everything wired up and ready to go. The one more channel that we got to decorate is going to be the banister that's going to divide the front porch, which isn't even installed yet. So I'm in here waiting for my computer to boot up. And because I don't have a printer, I'm going to have to write out my channels based on what box they are. Once the computer comes up, I'll show you how you can just print this out using the Lightorama software. But since our printer is still packed away somewhere, I'm going to have to write it out so I know where my extension cords are going and where I'm going to place my boxes. So that's my next step. Okay, this is the first year that I haven't actually reprogrammed. I didn't have enough time to just reprogram and build a whole new show, so I'm using the same channels and everything that I used from last year. Make sure you check some of my older videos and some of my playlists to see some tutorials on how to set up your show and Lightorama software and how that works. But I want to show you this one thing because I'm doing it this year. I want to show you as I do everything. I'm opening up my Lightorama show. This is White Christmas from 2015. Since I'm using the same songs and the same programming, I need to figure out this channel configuration. Alright, if you go up to Tools and you go down to Channel Configuration, it'll pop up this window. And now from here you can easily just come and hit Print and print up this configuration. However, since I don't have a printer, we're going to have to go through and write it all down. Alright, this window will basically show you the name of each channel, what unit it is, meaning what box, and what channel on each box. Alright, so you can come through here. If you hit the print button, it'll print up all this information on a spreadsheet. But since I'm going through and I'm going to write this all out by hand, I've got 4 boxes and 16 channels. I'm going to write it down on my notepad here and keep this so I have a good idea of where my boxes are going to go and what is plugged into what. Can only stress, especially when you're trying to rebuild a show from last year, to double check, triple check everything that you do. I have just realized that I put 9 channels in the oak tree to take up what I thought was the 9 channels on the Christmas tree, the tower tree last year. I just realized that I have 10 channels that are supposed to be in the oak, and I only put in 9. So I'm going to have to finagle a way to add a 10th channel to the show. Alright, the Lightorama boxes themselves, the hardware. It was the do-it-yourself kit that I built. It came with all the circuit board and all the pieces that you had to solder in place, all the wires. It came with all the parts, but you actually had to solder it in and read the schematic to do that. Saved yourself probably almost half the cost of one that was pre-built. And I've had them for, well, since the beginning, and haven't had any problems with it. What I'm doing to mount this is I've got it a stake driven in the ground in the back, and I've got it zip tied to it. I'm probably going to put a screw in the back just to hold it. Now keep in mind the security of these boxes. They're expensive. You know, I don't remember, about $150, $170 for this one. Oh, there goes the light. If you buy them pre-built, it could be, you know, almost double that, depending on which one you get. And you'd be a little concerned that someone could just pull this up and walk away with it, because it is a very expensive piece of equipment. I know some people that have actually mounted them to the house or closer to the house and ran extension cords everywhere they wanted. I would love to do that. I don't have the luxury of having all those extra extension cords. Another thing I want to make note is this box does not have a weather-tight seal. Okay, so even when it is closed, it's weather resistant, but it doesn't have a rubber seal to make it weatherproof. So what I will do, especially this year, is I'll take a black plastic garbage bag, and I will, after I get everything plugged in, I will cover it and then probably put a tie on the bottom to keep the water out of it, and probably and also to disguise it so people don't realize what it is and want to possibly take off with it. Sure, you can't see me at all, but just wanted to show you I did have a strand of rope strobe lights that are not waterproof. They're not outdoor. They're strictly for indoor, but I'm not too concerned with them much anymore. They've lasted a few years, and I really haven't used them in my show. Hopefully you can see them. What I did is I put them back behind everything in the on the top of the tower above the driveway. That's what we're looking at here. I have wrapped the power supply to the strobe light in a plastic bag and zip tied it on both sides to make it a little bit more waterproof, and I'll probably want to or have to do that with the light bulbs just to get them a little bit more water resistant, if nothing more than to try to keep the moisture out. Right, hopefully you guys can see me a little bit better. What I've done is I've run my power from the boys' bedroom to the oak tree to power that box. I've ran it from the garage, and here's actually plugged into the automatic garage door opener outlet, which I don't have one, so that's just an extra breaker to power one of the boxes, which is going to be on the right side of the tower. And that's not only powering that box, but it's also powering the static LED lights on the Garland. And right now it's powering the strobes, but that's going to be part of the channel. And then another breaker that's out of the garage going out the back door is powering the left side of the tower, which is going to power the two, I call them pillars, basically it's both sides of the driveway. The box that's on this side of the tower is going to power the top 8 channels and the 8 channels on the wreath, and then I have one more box that's going to go on the roof in the back, and that's going to power all 16 channels on the roof. I'm not going to do that tonight. That's the plan. I'm really just going through my mess of extra lights and extension cords and trying to get organized on what I'm going to be using, if I can use them. I've got a lot of extension cords, so anywhere I can use an extension cord, I'm going to use an extension cord versus using old Christmas lights. So I'm just going kind of slowly through a lot of this stuff. Like I told you, I'm going to cut the grass before I start laying out a bunch of extension cords, and I really want to do most of this in the daytime where I can see. Well, it is Sunday, and spend most of the morning building the porch, whatever you want to call it, the railing. So I'm going to paint that and get that all decorated. It's going to be one channel, so we had to get that done. I've got some stakes that I'm going to be staking the yard with, putting some lights up that we got. Target had a big sale on Christmas decorations last night, so we went and took advantage of that. I also got a new moving laser light for the tree, and I'm going to be putting the laser light that I got before up in the tree, pointing down towards the ground. So just a little change and thing. All right, we're doing a lot of loose ends. Right now I'm doing my peak work, which is my strand that'll go right on the peak here. This year I'm just using some mini lights, and I wanted to show you real quick what I was doing and how I was doing that. Basically, to start, I'm going to take the female end, and let me see if I can basically get to just tie a loop in the end here. Basically to create a loop. And I'm going to take this loop to the corner, and I'm going to hook it on the corner of the shingles right there. And then we pull tight. as I go forward, as I go right up the peak. Now, as you can see, the cord is wanting to fall down on one side or the other, so my goal is to get it as close to the peak as possible, but on the show side of the roof over here, not over here. Alright, and with a little bit of finagling, I used this extra strand from the show here from channel 3, it looks like. I wrapped around this corner of the shingle and then came back and then zip tied my peak line to that, and that should hold it in place. Alright, I'm trying to prevent having to shove anything underneath these shingles all the way up, or one year I shoved each individual light bulb underneath this shingle, but if you see, these shingles here are very loose, and I'm not, I just didn't want to have to go through and do a lot of lifting on these shingles to try to prevent any, cracking or breaking the shingles. I'll just lay them straight. Like I said, it's going to be one of those things where I might have to come up and straighten them up if the wind blows real hard one day. But anyway, just stick this in the groove right up here. And we started with a female end over there, and I took the loop and a female end over there, took a loop and brought it up and tied them together. So this is basically just sitting on the roof. They're not fastened, they're just looped at the corners. And then I've got two strands coming here. I want to make sure one strand is on that side. The other strand could be on this side, it's fine, it's not going to really be seen. To make this turn, I took one of the strands and looped them underneath here, zip tied it here. Really, you're only going to see this one strand, so. And then the excess I just threw back here on the back of the roof, which you're not going to see anyway. And then right down the center. Okay, well, we got one box wired up. Hopefully it's all wired up correctly. I'm doing it by the tags that are on there, and when I'm running extension cords. I had to move the box from the tower to this location because it was the middle point between the 8 top channels on top of the tower and the 8 channels on the wreath. And I didn't want to have to get extra long extension cords or double up on my extension cords just to be able to reach the box. So I put it here in the yard, and I'm putting the train in front of it to hide it. So you don't even see it's there, and the mess of wires that we have behind it. I'm going to clean them up a little bit, but so I have to hide those 8 extension cords going to the wreath. I do have the 2 windows, the front porch, which we got done, which I'll show you a little closer. We got some lights on the wreath, and we're going to decorate the garland, and then we're going to decorate the wreath as well. But that's going to be a channel. And I ran a wire to the eave. I had to run it to the peak, and the 10 channels that are going to be on the tree, and that box will be completely wired. And then I've got wire up this box here, and that's going to be those 8 channels there, and those 8 channels on that section. So that's my next project, is wiring up that box there. And then the last big project is getting on the roof and wire up all of the 16 channels on the roof. Real no secret to this and how to do it. My biggest secret is to use collect old Christmas strands that no longer work and use those as extension cords. Works good. A lot more affordable than having to go buy 64 plus extension cords. Even more than that, because this tree here, I have 10 channels on it, but I might have 4 extension cords for channel 6. You know what I mean? So until I'm able to condense and buy better, or buy a bunch of lamp cord and make my own extension cords, this will work for now. It's been a little bit since I last videoed, but all boxes are wired up. The boxes on the roof, the numbers that I put on the stickers to let me know which channel is which, has kind of faded to the point where I'm going to have to get up there and once I get it all hooked up and relabel that, and I'm sure I got some in the wrong place. But my next step is to go ahead and get my Cat 5 cables, my Ethernet cables, made up for my boxes and the locations. Making Ethernet cables is not a big deal. It's not that difficult to do as long as you have the right tools. What I'm using are basically some Ethernet connectors, some cheat trays that come with that, this particular kind, and then you need a crimping tool. I'll show you how to make these with this equipment. I know you can go just about anywhere and buy pre-made Ethernet cords or Cat5 cables. Amazon, Lightorama, they make them, but these are cut custom length, so I'm going to make four cables. So I'm going to spend the next 5-10 minutes doing that. Okay, I'm going to show you how I make these cables. I'm going to show you one of them. Obviously we have a standard Cat5 cable, no big deal. I have a pair of wire snips that I use for this, and I basically just score the exterior coating and pull this off to expose the 4 pairs of cables. Now usually you have a little thread, and what I do is I pull that thread, determine where it is, and I'll snip a little bit, if I can do it here, put a little cut there, so when I pull this thread it goes into that little cut and it makes it a lot easier to pull back. Okay, now you don't necessarily have to pull this much off, but I did it just to kind of show you. And then I just go ahead and cut that with the thread off, the excess. Now, as you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see, when I did this to cut the outer sheath off, I did actually score one of the interior cables. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and clip that off because I don't want there to be any kind of cuts or nicks on these interior cables here. The next thing we're going to do is basically just unwrap these cables, unwind them, untwist them, whatever you want to call it. These scissors here have this rigid edge, and it's supposed to help you unwrap the cables if you want to use that method as well. Now, the twists in a Cat5 cable are very important. There's a certain pattern that you have to follow when making your Ethernet cables. There's 2 pretty standard patterns. One's A and one's B. That's how I call them, A and B. I think there's probably more of a technical term for them. I always use A, and it's not going to be a crossover cable or anything like that, so we want them the same on both sides. Right? Now the pattern for A is your green stripe, or your green white, then your green, then your orange white, then your blue, solid blue, then your blue white, then your orange, then your brown white, and your brown. So again, it's green white green, orange white blue, blue white orange, brown white brown. Alright, so, and I'm also taking this edge of the snips and just making sure they're straight. There's no more turns or kinks in this cable. Make sure they're all in order. Okay, now that I've got them together, I'm going to double check to make sure that they're still in the right order. Green white green, orange white blue, blue, see, they're out of order. Blue white, and then I've got brown white, so I'm going to have to change, have to move the brown white and the orange. There we go. You want them right next to each other. Green white green, orange white blue, blue white orange, brown white brown. Hopefully you guys are able to see that. And now I'm going to hold tight in between these 2 fingers here, and I'm going to go ahead and clip off the extra. So I've got basically them in order and real close to my fingers. I go ahead and take one of my little cheater trays and slide the cheater tray on just like that, so you can see that they're in order from left to right. And I'll just slide this down to be careful that they don't twist or get out of order. Alright, and once more I'm going to double check. I got green, white, green, orange, white, blue, blue, white, orange, brown, white, brown. Okay, and now I'm going to take my snips again and I'm going to trim it off right about there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take my treater tray and just push it up right about to the edge. Okay, now I'm going to take my actual fitting and just slide it in. Make sure that those wires are seated all the way up to the top. I can actually look at the top. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I can look at the top and see all the cables are there. I can check on this side and make sure they're all lined up. And then I put it in the proper, the 8-pin crimper. Stick it right in there. And crimp down once. That's all you need. And now you've got your Cat 5 cable crimped down. You want to make sure you do the same on both sides, and you should be good to go. And we got the 4 cables created, both ends. It's getting late. It's not really, honestly, that late. I don't even know what time it is. It's just after 9 o'clock. I'm beat. I am exhausted. My legs are hurting. My back is hurting. It's been a long day. I was hoping to at least get the show on, meaning the program going, so I can test the lights and make sure that the boxes were working and everything. I mean, tested the boxes today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hook up these Ethernet cables, get those in place, make sure the boxes are closed and secured, and then tomorrow night I'll have to work on that. I'm just going to call it a night. I'm exhausted, so hopefully I think I'm going to end this video here. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to get it up. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, who knows. But make sure you like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can with any answers if you do ask. I can't even think straight. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time.